Hey everyone, it's Kobe at the Saltwater Edge. Today I will be tying a squid pattern. I call it the cocktail squid. It's a great pattern. Anytime there's squid around, I use it for albies, for bass, pretty much any fish around here or anywhere there is squid. It's a great smaller squid pattern. Casts well, holds up decently. Yeah, we'll get right into it. I'll start by using the ultra wine thread. This is the 140 size. So just start by wrapping your thread on the shank to start off the fly like you normally would. Disclaimer, I do tie backwards, so if you flip your computer upside down, it should look normal. So I am going the opposite way, but don't let it confuse you. Once your thread is secured, I've worked it all the way back to the sort of right before the hook shank bends. And that's where I'm going to tie in the bucktail. So you can use white bucktail, you can use pink, any squid color really. You can use like a brown. I've got the pink today, so I'm not taking too much. I'm taking just a small pinch there. Cut it at the base of the bucktail. And then just tying it off the back. So you don't want it to be too long. This is a smaller squid pattern, so I'm actually going to trim a little bit extra off that just to shorten the clump there. That looks about right. And now I'm just going to lock it into place. I do tend to over wrap. You certainly don't need to wrap it that many times, but it gives me a little bit of peace of mind. I'm starting my thread a little farther forward this time, and I'm going to start tying in the tentacles. I start with a white ostrich plume. I use this on a couple other patterns, so to make the most out of it, I use the longer stuff for my other patterns, and I use the shorter stuff at the top for the tentacles, or some of the tentacles on this little squid. So I'm going to cut off, there's no exact number, but probably, I don't know, 7 or so. When I tie these in, that was a long one. When I tie these in, I'm going to do one wrap, maybe 2, and then sort of spread them around, just to let them go all the way around. So the tentacles are kind of coming from everywhere now. Just locking those in with the thread. I'm going to take some Marabou. I've got pink. I've got, what do they call this, ginger. I find the ginger to be a pretty good squid color. So sort of balanced with the pink, I'm going to tie in some ginger. You could use pink if you wanted to. You could use white. Got a clump there. I'm going to tie that right over the top. Then I'm going to come in after this one and tie another bigger clump in, sort of wrap it around. If you have Marabou with a thin stem, I probably could have done it with this one. You can just palmer this part. But in this case, I'm just cutting a clump off, spreading it around. And you can keep adding clumps until you get the right distribution around the back here you want. This is looking pretty good. Don't want it too bulky. I still want to be able to see some of that white, some of that pink underneath it there. I'm just going to smooth it out. Make sure it's locked in place well. Then I'm going to take this the shrimp dyed ostrich for some more legs. You could just use rubber legs if you want. I'm probably going to add a few rubber legs after this just to make it really leggy. The fish won't be counting the amount of legs, but it does look nice to me. So again, I'm just sort of pinching the ostrich against the hook shank, letting it fall around. So you sort of have an even distribution there. And just locking those into place again with the thread. Like that. And then I'm going to take my pink Marabou and do the same thing I just did with the ginger. Just build it up a little bit more. Get some more color and movement in there. I'm going to do a pretty generous clump on the pink here. Again, just sort of working that Marabou all the way around, sort of pinching it and letting go and repeating that until it sort of worked its way around. And then just locking it in place again. That's looking pretty good. This is where if you wanted to, I don't always do it, but you could just throw in some rubber legs, pink, white, again, any other squiddy color. In this case, these are the hairline loco legs in shrimp pink. I'm just going to catch the thread with them, sort of in the middle there. Just get them into place. Do one wrap. Kind of spread them out where I'd like. Then lock them into place. I'm just going to work my thread up and down so I can get it ready for the easy body, the mantle we're gonna put on now. And about this distance here, about in the middle, is where the tie-in point is going to be for that easy body. So I've just worked my thread there to get it ready. We're going to double that easy body over, so it really helps when you are doubling the easy body to tie it in further back than where the final tie-in point will be. And that'll make more sense when I show you. But that space it allows will help in the end, help you make your life easier. I'm going to take that easy body. It's got the sort of that rope or thread spine there. I try to make sure that that's facing up. Just helps with the overall shape at the end. Just keep those legs out of your way. You could use a little hair clip or something to keep everything back there if you wanted. And then I'm just going to lock this easy body down back here. It's a little tricky to keep your thread from sliding around the easy body. Just pinching it with my finger there. Going to need a decent amount of tension on your thread. I'm just doing enough wraps, probably around 8 wraps, to make sure it's pretty tightly secured there. The glue in a minute is going to help. So I've got a good amount of wraps. Everything's, the easy body's caught right there. I'm going to take some of my thin UV. You can use, I like the UV just because I can dry it quickly. I'm going to cover the thread there. Does help if you try to keep the UV on the thread. When you go to fold it back, any UV that's spread this way is just going to kind of make it more difficult for you. I'm going to take my light and just dry that up. And then cut your thread away. Now we can sort of start lining up just where that easy body's going to line up. So I've just pushed it back and it hits that sort of wall of glue and thread and doubles back over itself there. And I'm just sort of pinching it to give it a good shape. Nice full shape. And that's about the length I want. You have to account for the eye there. So really we're tying in about here. So I'm going to pull it forward just a little bit before I cut it, just to account for that. And then you can take a lighter or a cautery pen or anything hot and just sort of melt these tips. It's just going to help a little bit when you go to tie it in. Just going to start my thread again at the eye of the hook. And just work on tying in the front of this easy body. Try to catch all the points there. Just like that. So you've got a nice mantle shape. Then before you tie the marabou, off the front here, we're going to put the eyes on. You can use, again, I'm using UV. You can use thick or thin. I just put a little drop there where I'm going to put one eye, then a drop the other side for the eye. This is the 5/16 side, which might be a little big. You can go the next size down, or whatever eyes you just have laying around. Put the first eye on and attach the second. Then I sort of eyeball it and make sure they're even there. And just sort of UV in there. Dry that tack spot up. And just to increase the longevity of those eyes, I take the thick UV, it's that solar res UV. Run a little bit low, so I'm sure Eric, when he edits this, will fast forward it along here, but I just got to wait for the thick UV to come to the end here. There we go. And I'm just filling the gap left by the eye on the top. And I sort of encase the edge of the whole eye in the thick glue. And when you dry this, it's really going to hold it in place well. It's got the eyes pretty well encased in the UV, so I'm going to hit it with the light. Make sure it's nice and dry. And then we're ready for the final step. So you can choose, again, any color marabou you want. I'm going to go for, I think I'm going to go for the pink. And this is sort of just going to cloud the mantle a little bit so it's not too flashy. You know, squid aren't super sparkly, so this will sort of mute that mantle down a little bit, give it some extra movement, and sort of play the role as those little fins that move when they swim. And I do go pretty light on this marabou. Don't want it too thick, so that looks about right. I've pulled it forward about that much because I don't want it to go too far back. I do want to see that separation there. Just going to do one wrap and sort of spread it around. Then lock it into place. Trim away all that extra. Just get that eye nice and clean. and just kind of clean it up with the thread. And that's about it. So I'll just clean up that head there. And this is another place where that cauterizing pen comes in handy, just to help clean that head up even more there. Just get the rest of that marabou out of there. Just like that. Just add a little drop there. Do whatever finishing knot you do. Sometimes I'll just UV it to finish it off there. Snip the thread away, and there's the cocktail squid. It's a fun tie. It's pretty easy. You could simplify it and cut a few materials out if you wanted to. It's great for anything that's eating squid, albies, and bass up here especially. Thanks for watching. We do have a big fly show coming up, which I do recommend you try to get to if you can. Some big names. Blaine Chocolate will be there. Ben Wally will be there. Yip Yip will be there. It's going to be a really fun time. It is on January 20th. There'll be a lot to learn, fun stuff going on, so do show up if you can. We have tickets on the website with all the details there, and Eric will link the rest of the details right here for you. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments, put them down below, and I'll see you in the next one.